Jake Heaps and Stacey Ross here with you. We've been talking about why the change at offensive coordinator was made for the Seahawks, how important the hire will be. But now, Jake, it's time to go over the OCs on your wish list. Now, you've broken this down into two categories: experienced play callers and current OCs you think the Seahawks should go after, and then some up-and-coming innovators who are currently not OCs, but you want them to look at. Let's start with the first one: current OCs you think they should go after.
Yeah, this has everything to do with how aggressive do you want to be in terms of trying to get the best and find the best. And some of these names actually are really intriguing to me because you would initially say there's no way that you would be able to get these guys, but they're also, some of these are not the play caller. They're OC by name, but not the play caller. So there would be an incentive for these guys to get an opportunity to show what they could do as the main play caller for an entire season, right? And so number one to me is Nathaniel Hackett. I believe Nathaniel Hackett to me would be an unbelievable hire with what they've been able to do in Green Bay, what they've been able to put together between their run game and their passing game. Nathaniel Hackett would be a guy that if you could lure him away with the idea that, hey, you could be the play caller, it's not Matt LaFleur, it's your shot, I think that there's a chance there. Alex Van Pelt from Cleveland is another guy. These are all attacks that are run-oriented, run-centric, that have really good explosive passing offenses that are creative. Alex Van Pelt really, to me, is a guy that I've really enjoyed watching this season, along with Kevin Stefanski, the way that they've been able to get Baker Mayfield in a rhythm, the way that they've still been able to be explosive with Austin Hooper and Jarvis Landry and the rest of the group. But also so impressive to see what he did when he had a chance to call plays against the Steelers last week when Kevin Stefanski was not able to be there due to COVID. I think that would be a tremendous opportunity. This next one would be more of an outlier because he is the play caller, is Arthur Smith with the Tennessee Titans. He's been getting head coaching offers, and I don't know if Arthur Smith would be on the table, but he would be one that I'd be very intrigued with in terms of going after. You talk about a run-centric offense. He knows how to run that. He had Derrick Henry. They were very run-focused, but they were also able to put and sustain 30 points per game throughout the entire season. So they were explosive in that as well. Shane Steichen is a guy that has been on this coaching staff's or on the Seahawks short list, I believe, for offensive coordinators. He was the first name that was thrown out there by Mike Garafolo after Brian Schottenheimer got fired, and he did a great job in terms of tutoring Justin Herbert. Originally, Anthony Lynn hired him to really control the running game and to be able to do that, but ironically enough, they weren't very good in the running game last year. Their starting running back got hurt, but they did have a dynamic offensive attack, and Justin Herbert had an amazing year. And then two other names that I think is an experienced play caller, Stacey. Nick Sirianni from the Indianapolis Colts. They have a run-oriented attack. With Frank Reich, and he is not the play caller. So that is somebody, those are names that I look at that are run-oriented guys that have explosive and dynamic offensive attacks that I think could help this offense. But those are some experienced play callers and current OCs that you could go after if you really wanted to. The hard part with all these guys is I don't believe those guys are going to be here because I don't think that they will not feel comfortable not having the run a show on the offensive side of the ball and be able to call the game that they see it the way that they want to manage it. And so that's why I have a hard time, especially with Doug Peterson. You're not going to be able to control or manage him that way.
That's what I immediately thought with Doug Peterson. Is what I like about all these guys is they're all coming in from the outside. There's no inside hire for this. That's not a slight on any of Pete Carroll's coaching staff, but you have a lot of, it's not homogenous thinking. You have a lot of guys that have been with the same coaching staff, with the same coach for a really long time. It's great to sometimes bring in an outside perspective and get some change of thought in there and have someone challenge each other, have someone either challenge Pete, challenge people on the coaching staff and say, hey, have we thought about this?
Mm-hmm. The up-and-comers, the innovators who are not currently OCs right now, because I think that this is more of the list that you're looking at. When I think about this, those are just kind of guys, if I had my wish list, I would go after some of those guys. But these are the guys that I think are more legitimately on the table for you, and are easier to get to come to Seattle. Number one, you're picking from the Shanahan tree. You're picking from the Shanahan McVay tree in terms of the way that they are run-oriented and the way that they can be creative and explosive in their offensive attack. So the first two guys on my list, on my wish list, would be Mike LaFleur and would be Mike McDaniel, who are the passing game coordinator and the running game coordinators for the 49ers. Those two guys, I think, are incredibly innovative. They understand, the evolution of what is happening to offenses right now and have created and found dynamic ways to be successful in the passing game, be successful in the running game. And so those two guys I think either one of those two guys would be great. The third one would be Shane Waldron, the passing game coordinator from the Los Angeles Rams. Kevin O'Connell is a name that has been floated out there, but I think Shane Waldron has been more entrenched in what Sean McVay has done with this Rams offense, so he would be a guy that I would be highly encouraged by if they brought him in. Number 4, Pep Hamilton. Pep Hamilton has a unique background. I mean, a very, very unique background in terms of being an offensive coordinator in this league. A great offensive coordinator at Stanford. Mm-hmm. He was an OC with the Colts under Andrew Luck, and I think he did a great job tutoring Justin Herbert. So that's another name that I think is out there that could potentially be a fit here as an offensive coordinator. And then the last one, if you can't get Nathaniel Hackett and you're looking at what Green Bay did and you're envious of what Green Bay did, Luke Getz is the passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. So those are 5 guys that are up and coming, or guys that are not OCs right now that you could promote to that level and give them an opportunity and a shot in this league. And so I'd be very curious if any of those guys were on their list, but those are some names that you look around the league and some successful offenses that I think could potentially provide a boost.